Good evening. The Who's today in Sydney. We're on at Rosehill. We'll get to that in a minute. Just very quickly, with the other city meeting during the week and the provincial meeting, we had Warwick Farm on Wednesday, um, and the track was dead. The rail was 5 metres from the 1,000 to the post, and it was 3 metres the remainder. And we all saw at Warwick Farm on Wednesday the what was the track normal there? Wait, I'm going bananas. Um, it might have been normal at Warwick Farm on Wednesday. Uh, anyway, the track itself it played very leaderish. If you couldn't come from behind, it was a huge advantage to be leading or behind the leader on the fence or outside the lead. But up near the lead was the place to be. There was a nice stiff westerly breeze all day, which helped runners down the side. But as soon as the leaders turned for home, they ran straight into the wind, which goes. If the wind wasn't there, of course, I think the leaders would have won a bit easier than they did. There were a couple of leaders that won that only just fell in, but I think without the wind there, the track bias would have seen their margins bigger than they actually were. So when you're doing the form for Warwick out of Warwick Farm on Wednesday, you'll have to make adjustments. I've already made my adjustments to fit in with the bias. I suppose the most obvious runner all day at Warwick Farm that everybody will come up with, which we all saw should have won, and that was a cappella in race 3, ridden by Horseman Bowman. Missed the kick, weaved in between runners turning for home, was held up trying to get off heels, and it ran second, ran third actually, beaten 0.6 of a length, and it only had to come out of the barriers, even though it wouldn't have been up near the lead, but it would have been closer than it was, and not given held up, it most certainly would have won. But as I say, when doing the form, you will have to readjust your thoughts to fit in with the bias. And then we had Gosford on Thursday, where the rail was, the track was dead and the rail was 4 metres out. And again, it was similar to Warwick Farm. Leading on the fence was an advantage. If you got track wide in the run or had to come from well behind, unless you made up ground on the fence, you had to have something on the field, and no runners did that. Of course, the first winner, we saw Napasini, which had been gelded, jump straight to the lead and win by 5.5 lengths. And the day went on, similar to Warwick Farm, leaning towards runners that were handy and especially close to the fence. The race could, well, first of all, in New South Wales, we have got, I think, the city's all right. They pan out, but a lot of the provincial meetings, they're terrible cameramen. And after every race, of course, not over. So Singapore have got the great system where you can see everything on the screen, what position the horses are in, and as soon as they cross the line, there's a slow motion replay. I saw them just out of the corner of my eye today at Rosehill. They're sliding the line as they go back with the slow motion replay back to the runners. It's a great help for those who are watching tapes all the time. It saves so much time, and when you get good callers who are calling races, it makes it so much easier for people who make a living out of watching tapes. There are that many bad callers in New South Wales. They can't fire. There's a young kid, he's the best in my opinion, a fella called Mitch Manners. He's got plenty on everybody. You can get a sprint race, and he he can, well, what his go is, when, after, of course, there's a couple of others that do it, after they, if it doesn't matter if it's a big field or small field, but after they hit the ground, a lot of the callers, they just call names. By the time they get to the turn, if it's a big field in a 1,000 metre or 1,100 metre race, they haven't gone through the field twice. You've got to, when you're doing the form, rewind and say, wait there, he's calling that, but it's not. And of course, you've got to identify the colours to work everything out. It makes it so much. This fella, after they settle down, even if it's a sprint race, he'll go back to and say, well, it's leading now, and it's taken the lead, or it's dropped off, and you can get, if all the other race callers, it's a simple experiment. Just write, you watch your replays which you call, and write down what the position the horses that you call, where they are, and then go and you'll find you've not only called wrong horses all the time and have them in the wrong positions. If you close your eyes and listen to the race and just write your numbers down where the horses are, they're wrong all the time. Mitch Manners, he gets it right more than often, more than all of the others anyway. And in my opinion, he is the best caller. The fella who's the new fella up at the south, on the north coast, who calls Taree, there was someone else calling a couple of races yesterday at Taree. He couldn't fire, but the fellow who's up there, he's a new, I don't know where he came from, but he's also very good. Some of the callers, they just should be calling trot races, you know. This fellow who called, he's got the great voice, of course, the bloke who called races at Gosford on Thursday, but he makes a lot of blues, and he can't, when there's a big field in a sprint race, he's flat out getting through the field before the turn twice, and as I say, makes a lot of mistakes. What else at that meeting at Gosford? What else do you say there, other than the track played diabolically, fence and near the lead, and I suppose I'd have to agree with the stewards sending Horseman Bowman back to the apprentices riding school to get some tips on how to navigate on his ride on Grand Prince. I suppose Horseman Bowman would even agree with that, but they might be able to help him back at the advisory riding school. He'll get a couple of tips off the riders there, and that was about the meeting. Then we came to today. By the way, going back to Gosford, it was there were a lot of well-back runners that won. It was an absolute strip out for the captains, and we came to the last race at Gosford, and the rank outsider got the cash, Golden Femur, ridden by Kath O'Hara and trained by John McNair. It came off the fence and getting a split after turning. It was a 60-to-1 chance before the late scratching of a 4-to-1 chance Sting at the barrier. It didn't have a name, but by the same token, the captains were in all sort of trouble coming to the last race, and it was no good because the favourite in the race, we had to give them the money back on Sting, which was $6 into $5, and the opening favourite in that race, Dwindle, which finished up running third, it didn't have a price. It went from $2.40 out to $4 before, or $4.20 before the scratching of Sting, unlayable, and we didn't have any chance to recuperate our losses. Anyway, we came to Rosehill today, and the rail was 3 metres out. The track was good, and that reminds me also at going back very quickly to Warwick Farm. Not only was it playing towards leaders at Warwick Farm, I noticed down the side there was a lot of kickback, a lot of crusty, dusty, getting back into the horses' faces back in the field, which also could have had something to do with why the leaders were getting home. Today at Rosehill, getting back to this meeting, the track was good. Rail was 3 metres out, repeating myself, and we had a similar wind to Warwick Farm, a nor'westerly blowing all day. Now, I've got to say that it did have an effect on some of the leaders coming down the side. We had two 1,800-metre races today, and Blurred Vision in the third race. Well, it led there were only two leaders to win all day, and they won the two 1,800-metre races. Blurred Vision in the third, and of course the last race where we saw Winning Glory with Lindsay aboard. He'll come back as a greyhound. He leads on everything. He went straight to the lead and led all the way in the other 1,800-metre race on the program. Anyway, we'll go back to the first race, and the favourite in the first race pulled up sore behind, and with a poor recovery rate, it's got a trial. It was wide. Champagne Cat missed jumped awkwardly, and it was unlayable in the marketplace. We put it up a $2.10 chance, 10 to 9 the field, we said. It was $2.70 begging at the finish. I cracked it for very, very little section, whereas the winner, I did give $16 the winner, 15 to 1, and it was extremely well back, started 14. You could easily lose on it if you gave the top odds, and well, it was well back towards the finish of betting Happy Clapper, the horse that ran third. It came off. It chased, looked at Aussie's Love Sport, oi, 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 all the way. It went out and led and ran into the Wind Sugar Rush. Rider Pumper Cassidy saying that it was short in its action. It did run into the wind, but it's got a trial. But it also pulled up like the favourite, sore behind. Once Aussie's Love Sport, oi, 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 got past Sugar Rush straightening, it safely held the well-back Happy Clapper all the way down to the winning post, and coming from back in the field, Kirov ran into third hole. On the screen in the first race, they said there was 105.9 in the marketplace, just a couple less, about 104%. But as I say, the favourite in the race, I don't know about the other captains, but I found it extremely hard to lay. We got to race 2, and we saw on the screen, they'll call the fraud squad, the captains in the grandstand, the robots, 98.7 on the screen. Out in the marketplace, 94.5. This race, well, it was a poleaxe job for the captains. It was extremely hard to escape the backing of the winner and one other runner in this race. Honoris, it got the cash, number 8. It got pulled up with a laceration, got galloped on, but it still won by 3.5 lengths. Havana Ray, these were the fluctuations in this race. Havana Ray, now they returned to $12, 11 to 1. Well, it was $15 begging on the rails when they jumped. It didn't have a price. It went from $6, a 5 to 1 chance, out to 14s, $6 out to $15. Polish Night went from 26 out to 31. Cooper Tea, or Cup of Tea, went from $2.80. They said they're going to ride it closer today, and they now say that was a big mistake and they're not going to do that again. It went from, was $2.80 out to $3.50, in to, believe it or not, $2.90 at one stage. The $3 wasn't there, but it started the $3.50. Lumiere, now ELO was $13 out to 17. Lumiere extremely well back, $6.50 given, opened up 6, got out to $6.50, started $4.80. I'm imposing was 41 into 21, 26. Soldad didn't have a price really, $7 out to $11 Soldad. The winner, Honorius, $8.50 into $5, fairly hard to get towards the end of betting. And Studio, was $11 into $8.50, about 94.5% only. And with Havana Ray not having a price, plus a few other runners, the winner was 15-2 into 4s, and it was a strip out for the captains. Havana Ray led, as predicted. It stuck on all right, beaten 3 odd lengths, running 4th. The winner, it sat in 5th position with a bit of wind cover and got a split after turning for home, and went away, and as I say, won easily by 3.5 lengths. A runner got trapped wide after missing the kick and also copping a bit of a check at the start, was Studio. It pulled up with heart fibrillation, and it has to trial before it starts again. We got to race 3. They said there was 105.3 on the screen, 100, a neat 100 in the marketplace. This was for the mares, and here, as I was saying, we saw Blurred Vision, the 1800, one of 2 leaders to win all day, and it went straight to the lead, Blurred Vision. And who was the other runner that was going to be near the lead here? Tenby Lady. Well, it sat back in 5th position. Gay most probably jerried that saw which direction the wind was coming from and got cover. It finished up running 2nd, having every chance. But Blurred Vision, after doing a bit of work last start at and sticking on fairly well, but is fairly limited at Canterbury. As we know now, led all the way today, ridden by Killer Kath O'Hara. It held on and beat the favourite, Tenby Lady. After $4.60 was better. It was into $3.80 at one stage, but got out to start. It was $4.20 on my board when they jumped. The winner was a very good result for the captains. We only got the neat 100, but it didn't have a price. It was $15 out to $26. Blurred Vision, giving the captains a good result. Emperor's Elect ran 3rd in this race. It copped a bit of a check at the start. It was always going to be back. It came from about 3rd last position. The one runner in the race coming right down the outside, making up more ground than any other runner, and I suppose its run was good. It was $7 out to $9, back into about $8.50, back out to $9, and the rider, well, I say it all the time at Rosehill, when you see the head on at Rosehill, all runners out wide they move in towards the, they just keep on coming in to when they get close to the winning post. It's because the track turns so sharply. As I say, in a photo finish, you're better off riders staying out, keeping in a straight line. It's very easy for me to say, I know, but then after you hit the winning post, then coming in. But anyway, it led all the way, Blurred Vision, and gave the captains a good result. There were a few runners backed in the race. Titbit, number 1, well, it didn't have a price. It went from $5, a 4-to-1 chance, out to $9, an 8-to-1, so $5 out to $9. There was money for gliding at $13 and $12, and he started at $9.50. A bit of money at $17 for Sans I Am. Alinea, there was a bit of money at $7.50, started $7. Lady Crovan, it was $7 into $6, very well backed. And the other runners, a bit of money for Dan Sarai at $51 into 31. And as I said, Emperor's Elect was backed at one stage, but got back out in the market. Captains had a good result, but figures weren't that good. Race 4, they said there was 101.6 on the screen, only 96% in the marketplace. And Foden Willie, who won this race, did not as badly as it did at Randwick 2 starts ago when it won, but when it got to the lead, it wanted to say no. It wanted to pull up. It has to trial, and Waller apparently is going to tell the ride that from now on. I just forget what they said in the steward's report. I'll have to read it again. They're going to not ride it a little bit back in the field, or I just forget, but you can read that for yourself. But anyway, it sat back in 5th position, came very quickly. $5 was given about it, opened up $4.40, got out to $5, back into $4.80. A little bit hard to get towards the end of betting. The runner that was sensationally backed in this race, having every possible chance, was the top weight Babiro. We put it up a $3.80 chance, got out to as much as $4.60, believe it or not. That wouldn't appear on the flux screen. They returned at $3. I was $3.20 when they jumped. I'm glad it didn't win, because I did stand it for a good bit of section. And the other runner that was well in the market, that got out towards the finish, was possibly a bit unlucky, and that was Red Excitement. Well, it sat in 5th position, but it was from barrier 6. It was wide all of the way, and it did stick on after sitting wide, loomed up to the leaders, and might have got to the lead at one stage, and it stuck on very well. It finished up running 4th, only beaten 1.1 lengths. We put it up a $4 chance, and it was well back straight into $3.50, then got back out to $4.60 starting, or $4.40 at least, if not $4.60 towards the end of betting. There was only more or less, $5 was taken the winner. At one stage, as I say, you can lay Red Excitement, and the Bureau sensationally back at least $4.40, but I saw $4.60 starting $3.20. It was the one that all of the captains stood. The others all got out in the market, and the other one that was well in the opening market opened up only a $4.20 chance, but it didn't have a price, was Magic in the Mix. Copped a little bit of a check, but that didn't hinder its chances. Opened up a $4.20 chance and got out to start at $7.50. It sat outside one more grand. It ran 3rd, only beaten a length, but it had its chance. I suppose Red Excitement, if it were able to slot in, it might have got the cash there. Race 5, they said there was 104.3 on the screen, and again, a neat 100 in the marketplace. And this was won by Vel Rosso, ridden by the pumper. He lost an iron, apparently, as they jumped. His near side iron, when they jumped, you wouldn't be able to tell he's such a professional horseman, is Jimmy the Pumper Cassidy. You couldn't, I didn't see it watching it, but he regained his iron. He settled down where everybody thought he would be, in last position. There was one runner that got trapped 3 wide. It was a stablemate, Altius, in this race. It sat midfield 3 wide, ridden by Nippy Nash, and when they were coming down the side, the pumper had eased off the tail enders and got on the back of Altius, and he went out after the other stablemate in the race, who was sensationally backed at one stage of at 2 stages of the betting. I'm talking about Catkins, who had every chance. It sat directly behind the leader on the fence, who was Snitsky, ran into the wind. Must have had some effect on it. Kenny's World, the 100 to 1 chance set outside the lead, and when they turned for home, Catkins shouldered his way in between those 2 runners, having every possible chance. But down the outside was its stablemate, Vel Rosso, and he beat Catkins by half a length. The pumper, I suppose, you could, what would you say, in the last 100 years in Australia, the pumper, I suppose, of course, would have to be one of the top 10 riders in the last 100 years in Australia. he has a great style, does Jimmy Cassidy. And that was it got out in the market, but very late. These were the flux. Carry Me Bluey went from 30 out to 60. Catkins $3 out to 3.50 into 3.10 I suppose, but I was 3.50 again when they jumped. It was a bit of a difference to me. This I wanted the winner to win. Kenny's World was always 100. D&G has $12 out to 14, back into 11, back out to 12. Sainthood was 30 out to 50. Altius, stablemate, to the winner. $8 out to $10 into $8.50, got trapped 3 wide. Snitsky, $6, $7 out to $7.50. The winner, we put it up the Avery Vel Rosso, $3 out to $4.20 given on the fence. That wouldn't appear in the flux, so $4 was the best, but $4.20 on the fence. Right towards the finish was extremely hard to get the $3.70, but was there, but very well late. They'd kill you for the $4 and the $3.80. Fireball, $9 out to 11, back into 8 on 8.50, and Mahuja, it went from $13 out to 26, back into 21, and that was about that race. Race 6, they said there was 99.6 on the screen, about 6 less in the marketplace, about 93%, and we saw that was before the scratching of course, of Whittington, who got its legs over the barrier just before they jumped, and was a late scratching. These were the flux. Sidestep, who I thought the protest would have had to have been upheld, but it wasn't. Glad I don't bet on protest. It was 7-4 before the scratching. These were the flux. 7-4 out to 7-2. Didn't have a price, Sidestep, and we gave 93%. Didn't have a price. Should have got the cash. The stablemate Caroccio, it was $9 into $7. Started $7.50 before the scratching of Whittington, and it's an 800-metre jackrabbit. Whittington, it was $4.20 out to $4.60 into $3.50 favourite before it was scratched. Never Can Tell, $9 to 14. Fast Dragon, 30 out to 60, back into 50. Windjammer, $6 out to 6.50, back into 5.50. The winner, Vav Piencio, was $13 out to 15, back into 12, hard to get. And Cluster, it was $10 out to 15, back into $14. And the race panned out this way when it went straight to the lead as predicted. Caroccio, the winner sat on its outside. Directly behind them was Never Can Tell. On the fence, slightly held up and having its chance was Cluster. It ran second, only beaten 0.8. Windjammer, trapped 3 wide, copped a bit of a prat before the turn. It cost Sidestep victory. When it got a bit of a check at the 800-metre mark, it went back. If we're able to slot in and not had whatever happened there, it would have got onto the back of Never Can Tell, or Sidestep would have then been able to come around Windjammer, and Windjammer hung on the turn. Sidestep would have got the cash for sure, and in last position was the New Zealander Fast Dragon. And when they swung for home, as I say, Windjammer, it swung wide. If it doesn't hang, Sidestep comes to the outside of it and finishes too well. But when it hung, there was a fairly big gap. He tried to go through. Windjammer came back in. I would estimate that Sidestep lost 2.5 lengths, losing all of its momentum, and it got beat 1.3. It protested against Windjammer, but the protest was dismissed for third position, and the placings stood. Race 7, They said there was 103.4 on the screen, 99.5 only in the marketplace, and this was a strip out for the captains. Talking about the favourite Lily Bolero, didn't she improve from her first up effort at Randwick, where she was wide on the heavy track? Today, the best price on the ground given on the fence was $3.10, a mile of $3, which was the top fluck, and it started $2.25. So it was 2s to 5 to 4, and this race was over yesterday. The way that they raced in pairs. It led on the fence Arrowette, on its outside General Sniper, directly behind it on the fence Project Compassion, and in the 1-1 position was the Avery Lily Bolero, and then they raced in the other 1, 2, so the other 10 runners raced in pairs to the turn. It was a absolute carve up when they turned for home. This Avery, ridden by Nippy Nash, he simply eased off the 100 to 1 chance General Sniper's heels, balanced the mare up, and she took off and she won by 2.5 lengths. She couldn't have gone any faster, but after they swung for home, she was never going to get beat. Song and Laughter, who was about 2.5 lengths, 3 lengths behind her, coming to the turn on her back, or looking at the winner, it ran in second place, and coming from midfield off the fence, having its chance, was Hoy Bell. The second place getter, Song and Laughter, pulled up lame, but it was a strip out for the captains. Cesaro, 20 out to 50. Total attraction, $5 out to $7, back into $6.50, back to $7. The Avery, as I say, 310 given, 220, starting 5 to 4. Hoy Bell, I was $12 when they jumped, but they did take 11 at one stage. Project Compassion, 12 out to 18. Sastruga, $13 given, into 10 at one stage, started $12. Applegate, 30 out to 50. 100 out to 300, Sadler's Wish. Arrowette, $17 out to 41. Recoinage, $8.50 out to $9, back into $8.50. And Song and Laughter, 13 out to 14, back into 13. A strip out for the captains. We came to the last race, and as I say, the other 1800 metre race where we saw the leader lead all the way, Winning Glory, had box 1 with Sean Lindsay up. Or he's a good boy. He this race was won and lost at the start. I have no doubt the stablemate of Travolta, Charing Cross, it drew barrier 8 Charing Cross. Travolta, ridden by terrific Tommy Berry, was drawn inside it in barrier 7. And well, they had 7, and they actually had barriers 7 and 6. And when they jumped, Nippy Nash, he flew the lids and he cut the stablemate in half at the start. I'm talking about Travolta. And instead of Travolta being where I thought would be, and I suppose I would think everybody else, up on the outside when they hit the first turn of Winning Glory, who had barrier 1. Unfortunately for Travolta, it took him about a good 5 to 6 furlongs to get into second place, doing a good bit of work to get into second hole, and then whereas the leader hadn't spent any petrol, of course, he'd used half of his tank up, and then coming down the side, Winning Glory, even though it was running into the wind, it was the distance race, it was able to, after the 600 metre mark, at about the 400 metre mark, be a good 3.5 lengths clear of Travolta, and then it was another 3.5 lengths back to Muirfield on the inside of Charing Cross, and the easing unlayable favourite Less Is More, easing off their heels coming to the turn. But it was quite evident that Travolta wasn't going to be able to make up the ground on the leader, Winning Glory, who, as I say, was a good 3.5, 4 lengths clear turning for home. It only finished up winning by 1 length from the favourite, the easing favourite, Less Is More. And the only runner, when you look at the replay, that wasn't off the bit coming to the turn was the third horse, Uriel, who, ridden by Christian Reith, had eased off heels turning for home. But as I say, he was still travelling very well, and it was the runner that made up a lot of ground down the outside into third hole, beaten 1.1, and Travolta did a good job hanging on to fourth position, beaten 1.5 lengths, and all of the others had their chance to run on, but they couldn't, and it was well back to the fifth horse, Charing Cross, beaten 4.4 lengths. Charing Cross cost Travolta the race here. Travolta would have, if he doesn't cut him off at the start, Travolta is outside the leader on the first turn, and I think he would have wore Winning Glory into the ground and got away with the race. That's only my they are only my thoughts. Of course, I'm the biggest ding-dong dell out there. How would I know? Anyway, this race, well, I don't know whether I said it or not, but there was 104.8 on the screen, only 99% in the marketplace. These were the flux. 26 out to 51, Einstein. Travolta, 440 out to 550, back into $4.40. Wasn't 16 to 31. Pearl the Bells, 20 out to 101. Less Is More, the opening $2.80 favourite, got out to $4.40 on my board when they jumped, and I couldn't crack it for any section. Well, I did crack it for some section, but very, very little section. Winning Glory, the winner, 15 out to 17. Charing Cross, 16 out to 26, back into 21. Marden, 7 out to 8, back into $5.50. Uriel, 15 out to 17, back into 16. Muirfield, 30 out to 90. We had Altered Boy, 50 out to 80. Ghost Protocol, 19 into 17. Presido, 19 out to 26, back into 20. And Punch Your Weight was $8 out to $10. I actually saw $11 on the fence, only started $7. Around about 99 or even a little bit less. Said what happened in the race, run the race again, and maybe Travolta, if it doesn't get checked at the start, might have got the cash. That was about the meeting. If you were wire netting, I hope you had some luck. Good evening.